to the Monday edition with me, Fred Indimuli. 91 days to the election date. Of course, many discussions border around what will happen with the nominations, but now something else big is happening this week. Parliament resumes. Members of the National Assembly reconvene for the very last session of the 11th Parliament. That means this is the very last session before their term ends. But what comes with that? Some of them, quite a number of them, have lost at the party primary stage. They're coming back without any hope of retaining their seats come August. Some of them are busy campaigning for August re-election. So what happens? In studio we do have Bonavincent Kimosop, a political analyst. We're also joined by Dr. Sam Kamau and Bonke Komwai, also political analysts. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Now, some of the big things that we hope that Parliament will come to address is probably a two-thirds gender bill. The finance bill is also up for discussions and all these things, but given the dynamics now that quite a number of these people have lost out, they have nothing more to lose. Some of them are busy campaigning for re-election. Do we really expect anything worthwhile from the National Assembly? Kimoso.
Thanks, Fred, for having me. I think it is good to point out that we will also have we have people who have been very crucial. For example, the deputy minority leader, the women rep Nyeri, people who played a key role in advancing the legislative agenda, who have not made it. So in my view, that I would expect a parliament that quorum will be an issue. I also expect that the quality of and the content of the debates will not be as what we would have expected, because you have people who have nothing to lose, and then those who actually won their tickets, we have exactly less than maybe 91 days to the election, and they have to go back and campaign. If you remember, the message that came from the principals during the NDC of both Jubilee and NASAM was that we have to go to the ground and mobilize. So when you put all those factors together, these legislators will be away, and this will impact on the quality of business in the House.
Yes.
Nevertheless, that I know that the bills will go through, because some of them have issues that are dear to the Kenyans. For example, the finance bill, some of the proposals that you would expect to impact on the cost of food on the table. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you would also expect is that I am cautiously optimistic about the issue of the gender bill, because of the numbers that we require in Parliament. As you know, that some of the recommendations was that, and including the court ruling, was that Parliament is to enact a law within the 60 days, yes. Or Parliament will actually be can actually be dissolved. Mm-hmm. But also, since these members of Parliament know anyway that August is hereby coming, I possibly foresee that being pushed to the next Parliament to deal with it.
Yes, Bonke. Of course, now we have to deal with people like Jakoyo Midiwo, no longer at peace with his party. He is one of the major contributors in Parliament in terms of even marshalling numbers for ODM. If at all the opposition needs to pass any legislation, they still have to contend with these members who are disgruntled from the party primaries. One of them, Jakoyo Midiwo, and having served as a whip, minority whip, surely this portends a lot of problems for this very last session.
I think the opposition has lost its big time, because if you look at members who have former members of Parliament who have lost it during primaries, like Honorable Jakoyo Midiwo, who's been a good debater. Those are some of the best brains we had in 11th Parliament. I don't think if they have anybody who will be protecting the interest of the opposition in Parliament. So these are some of the things the party, ODM, and the opposition, they didn't work on it properly. They've been protecting the interest of those who are appreciating by giving them a lot of money, but they don't value brains in Parliament. If you look at Honorable this Wakili, Honorable Lagaluach, who is also fighting to be an independent candidate. Mm-hmm. The politicians, they have a lot of pressure right now, and no one is going to concentrate on any bill in Parliament, because the pressure is too much down that machinani, and everyone is fighting to secure his or her seat. So any bill the current Parliament is going to pass, they will just do it for formality, to take their whatever they're picking from their, as far as their sittings are concerned, but nothing serious we're expecting from the current parliament.
Yes. Now, Dr. Sam Kamau, for ODM it's particularly dire, because we're looking at even people like the PSC chair, Honorable Nicholas Gumbo's still hoping to vie for governorship of Siaya County on an independent party ticket, sorry, not independent party, and I think that's one of the many confusions that we do have on an independent ticket. If at all he needs to go back just to finish his term in Parliament, one, he is disgruntled with his party ODM because he accuses them of bungling the nominations. Two, he's busy back in Siaya. He knows that's what he wants to do. Do you think that some of these things that really we're going to have any worthwhile debate between now and probably when Parliament dissolves in August?
Thank you, Fred. Definitely, I think from the results of the nominations process, I think we have seen almost a good number, or let's say almost half of current sitting members of Parliament who are defeated in the nomination process. And a good number of them have again opted to go as independent candidates. But if you look at the dispute resolution mechanisms that are still ongoing, some people are still caught up waiting for a specific decision, or others repeat polls have been ordered. For that reason, therefore, you expect that Parliament will struggle with the quorum hitch. And I think if you remember the two-thirds bail, gender bail, I think one of the issues that have affected it in the past is the quorum hitch, although that was deliberate. But if you look at it now, that would be one of the key issues. Now, focusing on specific key personalities, I know we are talking about independent candidates, but you know it's not independent in the true sense of the word. It's just that they were disgruntled in the process. And if you look at Gumbo, for example, or Midio, even if they opt to go independent, they have no choice, or rather than, I mean, they have to support the NASA candidate for them to stand any chance of re-election. And
but
therefore, there's a sense in which
they're still disgruntled and angry from the party primaries. Do you think they will conform so soon to still have their allegiances sorted out?
I don't expect they will have the motivation and the energy to continue leading, you know, the opposition troops in Parliament. Therefore, you may expect that you have a bit of a challenge with that. But if you look at it, some of the bills that are coming to Parliament, I think Jubilee has a greater stake in them, because when you look at, for example, the proposals to reduce or manage the cost of living that has gone significantly high, I think Jubilee has a greater stake, and they may want to marshal their numbers, and perhaps they can do that. But for opposition, I know it will be quite a challenge. Like you correctly pointed out, even the chairman of ODM, I think, is still facing the nomination challenge. It's not yet fully concluded because of the ruling by the whatever disputes tribunal. But if you look at it, other people now, they don't have the motivation, maybe even the energy to continue fighting for a party that they feel has dealt them a bad hand in the whole process. And therefore, like it has been correctly pointed out, quorum hitch, low quality debate. But the danger I see, I know in the past, especially, for example, the media has complained that there are certain key bills that have passed with a small minority. Yes. When the quorum in Parliament, we just had very small numbers and they passed. I think we might see the same thing. If Jubilee is smart, they can marshal their numbers and pass certain key provisions or key laws without participation of a good number of the people, yes, especially those bills that just require a simple majority.
Because as you said, quite a number of these bills are key to Jubilee, to the Jubilee administration, in fact, heading towards the election, in terms of even trying to see how they're going to control the food prices, at least bring them down. That gender bill, the president has already come out saying, yes, I want that fast-tracked. But even Jubilee, and especially Jubilee, has really faced quite a wipeout of the current sitting members of Parliament. Most of them are not even going as independent candidates. They just decided to go home. Quite a number of them are just playing it easy. Do you think that's a positive, that quite a number of these people will have nothing to run for, Bwana Kimosop, that probably they'll have more time just to spend in Parliament?
There is a difference between those, for example, who lost in Jubilee and those who lost in ODM in terms of the speed within which they have coalesced and actually come to the fore and actually be part of the team towards securing the presidency. Now, in my view, I see the enthusiasm of the leader of majority, that is Ed Ndwale, in terms of presenting these legislative proposals as a part of their campaign narrative. If you look on today's headline, I think, of the Standard, you see that the narrative, as one of the things that has come to the political fore, is that the Beyaunga, the cost of living is high. It's now become part of a campaign narrative, and everybody wants to be seen to be doing something about it. On the part of the minority, and I would want to really, I don't know, Fred, why we keep referring our political formations as government and opposition. In the new constitutional framework, it is majority and minority, and all of them are in government. So maybe I think from Citizens Extra we need to apportion everybody their part. So on the part of the majority, they would want to use this as their legislative front to show political response to the cost of living. Now, of course, on the part of the minority, they would want to stop all those, or stall all those proposals, so that it continues to be on the political space, yes, as they move to the elections. Now, I look at how Jubilee has been able to marshal their troops in the past, and I don't foresee a challenge, particularly on the bill touching on cost of living. That's the finance bill and the excise duty amendment bill. Where the problem will be is marshalling the numbers to get the 2/3 gender principle bill through. Now,
why really needs a lot of numbers.
And also, not only needs a lot of numbers, is that there is no political constituency called women. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of the political capital to get this bill across, that can wait. I know, of course, from people who've done advocacy towards getting this bill through. You can even see Priscilla Nyokabi has been on the forefront, the face of this, but on the ballot, he was rejected by the people. So, how seeing that
from Kiambu County, of course, line the kind of transition like these governors have already lost out at the party primary stage. They still have 3 months of which to govern their. Some of them come all. Should be important for both the majority and minority. Do you see it getting enough attention?
These are all politicians, and any politician will support anything to protect his or her interest. If you look at the performance of the current governors, and especially in Jubilee, showed a very good example to the nation when the closest friend of the head of state, they lost it. So once no one has a mandate to misunderstand and to demean people. I think if it is a matter of rewarding any elected member, it should be based on what you've done for the community. We need to politicians, their interest is to just serve for 5 years and they decide to retire in politics because they have the interest of the people and to change lives. There are some politicians who can be dictators to serve even for 15 years. So I think this issue of how should you be in the office, it should be based on what is your agenda for the common mananchi, the interest of you. Leader, at the back of their mind, they knew very well that the certificate for nomination is everything to them. So when that time comes, they will have to protect their interest by the party will reward them the certificate. Then when Mamambog and Wambo is complaining down there, all these bills, when you can't just wake up in the morning and we protect our interest, but we need to understand We are serving people who have offered and they trusted us with their lives and properties. So I think our African leaders, especially Kenyan leaders, and we are heading to elections, we need to give Wananchi the agenda we have for them. As we protect the interest of the party, we must also protect the interest of common man. And I think, Ndibuli, this issue of UNGA, we need to treat it with some special knowledge. It is not a matter of blaming the government at the moment, and we know the genesis of this matter. Remember in 2013, during the coalition government, we had this issue of the maize scandal and all that. So these are some of the things, the investigations were going on, what happened with our maize and all that. Now we can see the repercussions. Where now the opposition is using it to propel propaganda against the government, it's very unfair, of which I'm not here to defend that. But when that time comes, the Wananchi will.
Bwana Sam Kamau, do you think we've lost the opportunity to actually pass one regime to another at the county level? This assumption to office bill in particular, because it provides for when the new governor will be sworn in, or if re-elected, when the governor should be sworn in. Now, by some of these county bosses who know they're not coming back for the second term, and there's no law forcing them to actually account for their spending going forward. Remember, some of them will continue collecting revenue at the county level, knowing fully well that they're not coming back. Don't you think we've lost the opportunity to actually rein in on some of this?
And it could be that some people did not foresee the situation that we have currently, where to be in the next government. And therefore, the bill by Senator Wamatangi, of course, is a welcome bill, because it will seek to bring some order to the current confusion that exists. I know there are some fears among some people that current sitting governors who have lost the nomination, especially those who come from the major political party strongholds, that there is a possibility they could, plunder the resources of the county. But I still have to say, even if the provisions are not expressed and very clear, I still think there are mechanisms that would help govern the process. For example, in terms of expenditure, what is already budgeted for and supported, of course, and passed at the county assembly level, the governor does not have power to vary that. I think the only issue that we would have a challenge with is the revenue that they continue collecting. Not known, or the to leave. There are specific mechanisms by law that exist, and if such a thing happens, then I'm sure the law will follow some of these as governors. But I think the bill by Senator Wamatangi is one of those crucial bills that will require bipartisan support in the House, because I think it is of interest to both the opposition, or rather the minority and majority, as Kimosop has advised us to clarify. Some of these bills will require bipartisan support, because there is transition that will take place in the different counties, some controlled by the opposition, some controlled by the current government, and therefore in that sense then you expect there will be some unity or rallying around this bill. But going to an earlier issue that you mentioned, maybe the Jubilee side is slightly better organized, in the sense that the president met a key number of people. Jubilee nominations, I think he met them over the weekend, and emphasized the need, of course, for them to remain within Jubilee, and sense in which there could be some incentives offered, or some motivations that have been offered to make sure that they continue with their legislative. But like you have pointed out, a number of crucial bills require urgent attention. Maybe it's not too late, and we might see some of those passing with, like we said, minimum numbers or simple majority.
Yes. And Bwana Kimosop, before we allow you to leave studio, final comment on this, the assumption to office bill, keeping in mind that the kind of fallout that you're witnessing in the political parties, in the case of Wiper, they've even lost chairman David Musila, very many bigwigs. Do you think that probably these party leaders need to do like what President Uhuru Kenyatta did, try and lost out. Try and just marshal some sense of direction, at least for the remaining 3-4 months to the end of this parliamentary session.
Fred, I said somewhere earlier that before presidential flag we have discussed this.
Yes.
But after they were able to answer one question, that can the opposition unite, I think I would want to say that people who are strategizing for Jubilee should not sit pretty and be complacent. They have to actually tell their story, and tell their story very, very well, and connect with the people. So I think the step by the president in terms of meeting political actors and telling them, hey, we have a bigger agenda. The government, we have opportunities to work together. The Wananchi have spoken like this. We have to respect them. They are our clients. But there is also space to accommodate those who have no place. I think that was a very strategic message politically. Now, what they need to do, in my view, is that there's something called a well-told story. When you've been in government for the last 4 years, there are things that you have done. I can say that the momentum currently in terms of getting the narrative out is on the part of the minority, and that is led by Raila Odinga. So Jubilee have to up their game, and I think what the president has done is, of course, now as the candidate, is a step in the right direction. Now, looking into Wiper, those cracks, the division between Musila and the running mate nominee for NASA, Kalonzo Musyoka, is not good for the opposition, as again for the minority. Why this is not is because in politics you hit your opponent where they are weakest. Are the weakest. So I am sure one of the possible strategies that Jubilee will use is to sponsor the discontent, so that finance that discontent, so that when you have more discontent within the NASA strongholds, what is going to happen? That is going to impact on voter turnout. That is what, divide and rule strategy. So I am, as much as it is good to give the people Guma, Musila running as independent candidates, I don't think that is good in terms of getting the NASA fall to put the act together. So by Jubilee governors who lost saying that we will join the campaign team, that is strategic, and they are sounding one message, a message of unity, a message of stability. So I think that is the challenge to NASA, that since they were able to unite and come up with one candidate, they move up to speed so that they are able to mount a strong campaign. It is good that we have two candidates strong on both sides. It helps us as a country. It's a demonstration of our progress and our growth in our democracy, and we need to nurture and harness this.
Okay, thank you so much, Bwana Vincent Kimoso, political analyst. Of course, we'll have to allow you to go. But we'll still retain Bwana Sam Kamau and Bonke Komwai for another discussion. We need to move forward and now look at the campaign agenda. Issues that we've been discussing: corruption, high cost of living. What will it be the main discussion this time around? That after the break. But first, let's link up with Hassan Mugambi, who is still at the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. We do understand some of those aspirants seeking to go to the elections as independent candidates have very interesting symbols, because each one of them has to have a symbol. Hassan, kindly update us on that.
Well, it is very, very interesting here in as far as the symbols are concerned. And yes, as the joke was made earlier on as you were doing the interview, Fred, is that we are seemingly going to have a booklet of ballot paper come August 8th. And yes, it is going to be quite a logistical challenge to the IEBC. But that aside, we are at one of the queues. This is a queue that is of the new applicants, the people who are bringing their applications to be as independent candidates here. And I'm now joined by one of them who is hopeful for the Kisauni parliamentary seat, who is Willis Ochieng. How are you?
I'm fine.
What brings you here today?
I've come here to look for clearance so that I can contest for Kisauni constituency seat. Yeah.
Did you take part in the party primaries?
No, I didn't. I didn't take any part in the party primaries. Yeah.
So you're just here as an independent candidate?
Yes, I'm here as independent candidate.
What are some of the things that you brought yourself here with today to ensure that you're not going to be told to go back to Kisauni and meet the criteria before coming back to the register of political parties?
Yeah, I have all documents that is required. I have all the documents like the ID copies, the application, everything I have. I have everything that they require.
What are your symbols? Let's just take a look at Fred. We're just going to be taking a look at the symbols he has. He says he has 18 of these. So basically, just run us through the meaning of your symbols, because these are symbols that are supposed to be having some significance.
Yeah, as a leader, I concentrate much in infrastructure. That's why we have this elevator and excavator here, because most of the time I deal with roads, I deal with bridges in my constituency. That's why I would like to get this symbol on my ballot paper.
What about the nut?
The nut also, I'm preparing to bring some investors from Austria, and they came in the country. They want to invest in solid waste management in Kisauni constituency. So they will use a lot of nuts by installing that plant in Kisauni constituency. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm number one.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Fred, we have it there. Interesting symbols from nuts to moon to needles. I don't know what he was going to say. The needle was maybe to mend the relationship and to mend the kind of broken infrastructure that is here. But then again, they have been called in, so it is a rush against time here. He doesn't have time for us to be continuing to speak to him, because he will be running late in as far as the presentation of the papers at the office of the Registrar of Political Parties is concerned. But we are here, we will be speaking to some of them, and we'll be looking at those symbols that come from, there's a symbol of a rock, there's a symbol of a needle. He even had in his 18 symbols, I saw something to do with a flask. How significant that is to his political bid is something that is a different ball game altogether. But then again, we are waiting. We're here. We will be giving you, keeping you updated on how things go here at the Register of Political Parties. And over to you now, Fred.
Thank you, Hassan Mugambi. Very interesting there. I think with a huge number of independent candidates, getting a symbol has become tricky. And I want we briefly discuss that. We've just been joined. We still have Sam Kamau in studio and Bonke Komwai, political analyst, and we've now been joined by Joy Mudivo. Karibu sana, Joy.
Hey, Fred.
How are you feeling today?
I'm good, thank you.
If you just watching that report by Hassan Mugambi there, and you see some of the symbols that these aspirants who are seeking to go as independent candidates, it's very interesting. One has a needle and thread as a symbol, probably to mend the broken political promises.
But I think what the Independent Electoral Commission should have done is have one universal symbol that symbolizes independent.
Yes.
So even if there are 3 or 4 people with the same independent symbol, that's up to them. Because quite frankly, if we look at the numbers that we're looking at this year, if every single person has to come up with a symbol, there are some symbols that will be no symbols actually. You'll be wondering, what is this? Because remember, it has to be depicted on the ballot. It's one of those things.
People, of course, the level of creativity could come into question, because not everyone is that creative. The one that you usually put some tea in the morning, and you wonder what that represents.
I think independent body should, I'll agree with my sister, they should have a uniform logo for their candidates. You know, the reasons why we have like more than 1,000 people coming out to contest using independent ticket. You see, some of these people, they've invested heavily in their constituencies. Like if you look at how our political parties ran their primaries, it was quite embarrassing, especially the opposition. If you look at, I think that day when we were analyzing the issue of Homa Bay, we were here in the morning. The returning was quite embarrassing, and you'll say this is a big scam. I mean, nothing, and guys were complaining all over. Look at what is happening right now at Orange House. I mean, it's so embarrassing. You cannot collect money from leaders, then after that the people will speak. After those who are loyal to you have spoken, you dismiss their request and their demand and their wishes. That's why these independent candidates, don't dismiss them. They are going to be a big threat to those who have certificates.
Despite how mediocre their symbols are, some come out, you see some of the symbols there. It will not be so easy to identify some of them, you know. Because selling such a symbol in a situation where, because we've just been speaking to one of the commissioners from the IEBC, they're looking at a possibility of having very awkward looking ballot papers, because there are quite a number of independent candidates. Don't you think? Identifying your candidate plus the symbol, it has to be something that stands out.
Fred, definitely it's a burden on the side of the independent candidates. Remember, by the way, they are doing this under extreme pressure because of the strict deadlines or timelines that have been given by the IEBC. And therefore, taking enough time to creatively look for a symbol that would best represent what you stand for, it is quite a nightmare. And I think I'm inclined to agree with the suggestion that there should have been one universal symbol being used by all the independent candidates to save them from this, because I still believe that on the ballot paper you have the image of the specific candidate and the name, and therefore the symbol, I wouldn't say that it speaks to so much in the case of these independent candidates. And therefore I think it's one of the issues I am very sure the next parliament will have to look at and consider removing that and just allowing one independent symbol. It could even be a color, because when I'm under so much pressure, remember, I'm disgruntled, I'm frustrated after having gone through a serious nomination process that I feel was unfair, and now making me think and to try and come up with a unique symbol. And you also have to remember that I don't know whether it's a typical Kenyan thing or it's human nature. We have this wildebeest mentality where we tend to think the same, and therefore you will take your specific symbol and then you are told that this one is already taken. It will be, it will be quite a challenge. Even me, you gave me an opportunity to think. I can only think of my name initial, but I know there are also other people,
really sad is that how creative you are?
We share the initials.
Hassan Mugembe was just joking just now and saying that actually one of them has a toothbrush as a symbol. And that's what you'll use to identify them. You can see some of the symbols there: a spade, an anchor, a glass with toothpicks. Yes, actually toothpicks. Yes,
it is toothpicks.
Somewhere an independent candidate symbol.
No, but you see, the history of symbols has been to identify political parties. The history of symbols did not envisage having universal suffrage using anything at their disposal, and that's why you find desperate times have called for desperate measures. If it was just the political parties, you can't run out of symbols. But when it's all and sundry, even for the IEBC, you find ballot papers that are printed, and then somebody will be like, but that's not my symbol was XYZ. Then what do you do with those ballot papers? You go and trash all of them and make new ones. So it may be something that they need to make a shotgun decision and just say, you know what, all independent candidates have a djembe, and then we move on.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's discuss other things now. And the campaign agenda, because now 3 months to the elections, now we need to get right into the nick of things, and we need to get to discuss the serious issues. Now, looking at our history from 2002, approaching the elections, it was get out KANU, anyone but KANU. Come 2007, it had issues to do with the constitution, the new constitution, how to pass the new constitution, who's going to do it, who's best placed to do it. That was a debate around it. 2013, it was the ICC issue. Now, 2017, are we even sure what the main issue is? Is it corruption? Is it the high cost of living that we're already talking about? What is it? What do you think will make for the main agenda for this campaign? Bonke?
Well, the main agenda, I think, is the issue of the cost of living and the corruption issue. If you look at this issue of corruption, you know, Kenyans, what the opposition has been propelling against the government is that they've been trying to poison the brains of Kenyans, that Jubilee government is the most corrupt government since independence. But you'll ask yourself, we have the devolved government, and these governors, none of them is complaining that they've not received any coin from the central government. Now, when we are talking about corruption, we need to start it from what level? Not coming up to start blaming President Uhuru Kenyatta. First of all, as Mwananchi, you need to ask yourself, in our village here, we didn't have a borehole, we did not have good roads, we did not have security, we did not have good health. Is there anything which has changed since the devolved government came into perspective? Because governors, they call themselves His Excellencies, they have cabinets, they have convoys, they have security, they have everything His Excellency should have. Then when they are receiving money from the central government, where do they take this money? That's why common man is complaining about the issue of corruption, because they can feel the impact of this issue of inflation. So our governors should come out very clear. When they're talking about, they've been saying, oh, where are the stadiums, right? The Jubilee promised Kenyans. I want to confirm, we've built 2 stadiums. Look at Machakos, we have 1 stadium in Machakos. There is another one in Mombasa. So Governor Mutu and Governor Joe, where did they get the money? They didn't get that money from the US. They received the money from the central government of Kenya, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. So this conceptualizing the manifesto we had in 2013, we had this concept of devolved government into perspective. So governors were to engage the central government with the first priorities and the interest of Wananchi down there at mashinani level. Remember when President went to Turkana and there was this thing of the corruption issue, Turkana governor was complaining about the amount he has received. You see, when I'm so much disappointed with opposition governors, because if you look since 2013 up to date, they've been investing so much in strikes. They will, because for Mwananchi to go on the street with the T-shirts and complaining, there's some money must be involved. So if governors, they've been replicating what the opposition leaders they've been doing, but there is no any day a governor, I've never seen even Cyprian Awiti on Citizen TV here talking about the issues